Hello chess friends and welcome to Zato's chess channel and welcome back to our Queen's Gambit Declined series. So in this series we're following this very nice opening from White's and from Black's perspective, and today we're continuing with our Queen's Gambit Declined studies and the so-called Ragozin Defense. The Ragozin Defense we have explained so far with the most important tactical ideas for White and for Black, and we have seen also some important sidelines like the Alekhine variation. We have seen also the exchange variation. Today we're analyzing the different sidelines of the Queen's Gambit Declined of the Ragozin Defense. Today we'll face this very aggressive move Queen to B3 of White. So this idea is clear. When we want to play the Ragozin Defense, we have to play of course the move Bishop to B4, and then with the move Queen to B3 your opponent is trying to challenge you, is trying to provoke you, is trying to force you maybe to even trade off the bishop for a knight in an early stage of the game. So that's why you face many positional problems, and if you don't know what to do, you maybe lose the game positionally, maybe not immediately in a brutal tactical way, but your opponent could squeeze you in a great positional way. So that's why it's very important to know what to do and how to counterplay this Queen to B3 method. So let's check out now what is again the Ragozin Defense, what is then the new idea of White. So here our first move is of course the move d4, d5, we have c4, the Queen's Gambit. After move e6 we have the Queen's Gambit Declined, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3. We have reached now the 3 knights variation. We have covered also some ideas of the Vienna variation of the Queen's Gambit Declined. So if you want to study more about this opening, please check out our series, the Queen's Gambit Declined so far. After move knight to c3, now comes the actual Ragozin move with the move Queen to b4. And as I said, we have covered so far the Alekhine variation with the move Queen to a4. We have seen also some exchange variations with the move c takes d5. Now we're analyzing the move Queen to b3, which is a very unpleasant move to make because many things can go wrong already here for Black. What you should not do, please don't do that. Don't take out the knight immediately, because notice that your opponent will play probably Queen to c3, and okay, you could have fun with knight to e4. You are playing maybe a dangerous attack against the queen, but now notice after move Queen to c2, this knight will not stay there forever. So after move e3, maybe bishop to f4, something like bishop to f4, e3, queen, bishop to d3, maybe even some knight to d to f3 ideas. This knight is maybe your most powerful piece, but it will not be there forever. This knight can be kicked away, this knight can be challenged immediately. So the problem about this Queen to c2 line is that your opponent didn't play the move a3. Please believe me, if you have maybe here an a3 move, if your opponent would have played the a3 immediately in order to challenge your bishop on b4, then your opponent could face many light square weaknesses. We'll see why is it important to force your opponent to play the move a3. But notice we have played bishop takes c3 without being challenged with the move a3, and it's a different story now. White doesn't have any weaknesses in his position. He doesn't have light square weaknesses. So that's why after move Queen to b3, it's very important to support your bishop with c5 or with a5, because when we after this moves a5 or c5 get challenged with the move a3, then okay, we can take bishop takes c3, but at least we have provoked some weaknesses with the move a3. Then a4 is weak, b4 is weak, c4 is weak, c2 is weak. So this light square problems are causing then many structural problems then in White's camp. White has to protect the squares in the continuation of the game. So it's a different story if your opponent did play the move a3 or if he didn't play the move a3. It's simply then a bad choice to take immediately the knight on c3. So that's why you have to support your bishop further. You can play it by do it by playing c5 or the move a5. In my opinion, a5 is much stronger, because we still have the flexibility to maybe even play a slightly passive move with the move c6 here with our c pawn, or still we can play aggressive move with the move c5. But the move a5 is causing now many problems here already for White, because if White challenges now the bishop on b4 with the move a3, that's now our goal. Okay, still it's not time to take out the knight. We can play a beautiful move a4 here. And now if our opponent wants to take the bishop, he gets trapped, because knight to c6 is trapping the queen. Queen to b5 can happen, but now with rook to a5 the queen is helpless here. Or your opponent could try also queen to c5, hoping that you're playing maybe the move b6, but again with the rook to a5 the queen gets challenged. You have the only move knight to b5 here to protect yourself, but now with knight to e4 again the queen gets trapped. So you see this a3 move is causing now many problems for White. A4 after move a4, Black is at least kicking with away the queen has to move now to c2, and now we can take bishop takes c3. Okay, after b takes c3 or queen to c3, it's a different story. Now we have reached a similar position, but now with knight to e4, okay, queen to c2, we have reached now a similar position like before, but notice the difference. We have now some light square weaknesses here that could be attacked in the continuation of the game. After move queen to c2, maybe we could try b6, bishop to a6, and now we can force maybe trades of light square weak bishops, and here there are many then targets to attack. So it's I think a different story when your opponent did play the move a3 or if he did not play the move a3. For instance, in this position, after move bishop to c3, if he takes with the pawn instead of the move queen to c3, then we can play d takes c4 immediately. After move e4, we can fix the pawn structure with the move b5. This is now I think a good position again for black. Black simply grab the pawn. We can then continue with bishop to b7, attacking the e4 pawn. This will be then a weakness, and notice that white cannot play the aggressive bishop to d3 move because this pawn is protecting the square. So I think white would love to build sort of a queen and bishop battery on light squares, but it's simply not possible. So in this line, we have grabbed simply a pawn and hoping for the best. This is a beautiful way, I think, to play the Ragozin defense. So let's go back. After move queen to b3, we're playing the move a5. If we get challenged with the move a3, still we have opportunities to proceed with a4. That's the beauty of this opening. Queen to b4 leads into traps. After queen to c2, we simply take. But after queen to c3, knight to e4, queen to c2, we can play now simply normal stuff. We can even break through here with the move c5. It's even playable here from black. So as I said, this is a beautiful way to continue here. Sometimes in chess we cannot win the game immediately just by playing one particular opening, but I think we can agree that white has now many structural weaknesses, and maybe an opening just ends maybe with a weak square, with a weak pawn, maybe with a bad piece or something. So it's basically something that we get out of doing nothing more, because if an opening would lead immediately into win, probably everyone would play it. So that's why here I think we can agree that at least we have some things to attack. Especially we can notice b3, c4. These are the clear targets here of black. So let's see now a beautiful game that was played by Magnus Carlsen against Wang Hao. So here Magnus Carlsen played this a5 method and got challenged by his opponent Wang Hao with the move bishop to g5. So here Wang Hao didn't play the move a3, and this could be also very annoying to handle because your opponent played this dangerous spin. You don't know what you do, but notice many times when your opponent is attacking you with the dark square bishop, he is not protecting the c3 knight, he is not protecting his dark square here. So that's why we should be now very aggressive. We should try to open the position with the move c5. So now it's time to play the move c5, because we can notice that still white is too far away from securing the king by castling. He has to play still e3, bishop to e2, bishop to d3, maybe then kingside castling. So he'll need at least 3 more moves just in order to secure the king by castling. So that's why with the move c5 we can break and enter immediately. Your opponent could try d takes c5, or he could try here the move a3, but still we can play our method a4, queen to c2, bishop to c3, that we have seen that is working. Or your opponent could play c takes d5. He could also try to take out here the centralized pawn, but again we can play a4. That's the beauty of this opening. And then after queen to c2, we could try maybe something like c takes d4, knight to d4, and now we can even take out with the queen to d5 is also a beautiful method here. So now after move queen to d5, probably your opponent will play something like bishop to f6. Now after g takes f6, here we have still this pressure, and after something like e3, we can even play something like a3. This would be a beautiful move, because then we undermining a little bit the protection of the knight on c3, and we can continue with this very powerful dark square bishop. So as I said, here after move c5, your opponent will probably not take something here in the center of the board. Maybe he'll try this idea, d takes c5. That was played in the game by Wang Hao against Magnus Carlsen, but now it's very important to play accurate the next move. Many of us us would play bishop to c5, but this is not good because you will probably lose the battle around the square d5. Notice that black has here a dangerous pin and has also the pressure around the square d5. So that's why you have to play a beautiful move, knight to a6. It is strange sometimes to play with your knight on the edge of the board, but we want to stay with the bishop here against this pinned knight. That's the most important thing. The bishop has to stay there at least for a while, because if we get challenged with the move a3, then we have seen, then it is possible to take, but at least now with the move knight to a6, we're threatening to take the pawn on c5. So we have now a3 that was played by Wang Hao. We have an extra tempo, knight to c5, queen to c2, and again Magnus takes. So when we get challenged with the move a3, then okay, bishop to c3 is perfectly fine. After move queen to c3, here Magnus found a beautiful way how to unpin himself. He played simply knight to e4, and notice that he has also an attack against the bishop on g5. So this was a beautiful way how to get out of this tactical mess. So this is something, as I said, really worth to study. It's a beautiful position for you, especially because you have forced now some likes for weaknesses. The game between Wang Hao and Magnus Carlsen ended in a draw, so the whole game will be in the description below. That's not the point of this video. I really wanted to show you potential sidelines, and this is a beautiful way, in my opinion, how to play the Ragozin defense from black's perspective. So let's go back. After move queen to b3, we're playing simply a5. This is now a beautiful method. If we get challenged with the bishop, we can play c5. If we get challenged by the pawn, we can play a4. These are the most important strategical concepts of this opening line. So let's see now a different example. It was a beautiful game played by Ariantari here with the black pieces. He played also the move a5, got challenged with the move a3. What should we play? We play a4, beautiful move. We have queen to c2, and now we play bishop to c3. As we said, it's not a problem. Here we have queen to c3, we have an extra tempo, knight to e4, but notice now with the move a3, we have at least provoked some likes for weaknesses. So it's not the same if we take the knight immediately without being challenged with the move a3 or getting challenged with the move a3. Now, after move queen to c2, we have c5 immediately by Ariantari. Really a beautiful move. Here the position in the center explodes immediately. We have e3, we have c takes d4, we have c takes d5, e takes d5, and after knight to d4, here we're left a little bit with an isolated pawn. But now after castling, noted that also white has a huge problem with the dark square bishop. This is now a problem. The dark square bishop is blocked out by its own pawn, so by the pawn on b2, but also by the pawn on e3. And the cool part is that the a4 pawn is holding now the whole queen side. If of course b4 or b3 happens, we can still take en passant a takes b3. So here the continuation bishop to d3, which was a normal idea. We have a rook to e8, protecting the bishop on e4. We have a kingside castling, bishop to d7, bishop to d2, and now knight to a6 again, with the idea to play knight to c5 and then targeting here the weak square on b3. Here in the continuation, we have a bishop to e4, d takes e4, and now after bishop to c3, at least Ariantari's opponent tried bishop to c3, trying of course to activate the piece somewhere, but it's simply too slow, because here with the move knight to c5 also there is a clear target, the weak square d3. Again, I'm not showing you now the whole game. That's not the point. Notice that this continuation, as I said in the beginning, when your opponent is challenging you with the move a3, it's not such a huge problem to give up the bishop for knight, because at least you have provoked some light square weakness. And that's exactly what Ariantari did. He exploited the weaknesses, had some fun, attacked the light squares, included the queen into the attack. Here he had also some fun. He could also include the rook into the game. So as I said, he had really a comfortable game. So the game will be also in the description below, the whole PGN. Then you can also study it, download it, and of course maybe analyze with some stockfish engine at home. That's not the point. The point is that already black is has an advantage here. So after move knight to c5, we see rook to d1, but now with queen to g5, knight to d3, white got tactical loss. So let's see now another example. Here it was a beautiful game by Darius Schwirtz with the black pieces. Again, we have seen this a5 method. We have bishop to g5. Now he played like Magnus Carlsen did. Here the move c5, very aggressive method. We have d takes c5. Now knight to a6. challenging the pawn on c5, and here white tried to castle on queenside, which was a huge positional mistake. Here black simply takes, knight takes c5, queen to c2, and now after bishop to c3, queen to c3, we have this stunner knight to e4 with the fork idea on f2. In the continuation, bishop to f6 was played, queen to f6, queen to f6, g takes f6. Very important to stay a little bit longer with the knight here, forcing this idea around the square f2. Rook to g1 had to be played. We had knight to f2. We have a rook to d4, and now finally d takes c4. In this scenario, black simply grabbed the pawn, has now the opportunity to get back with the knight on g4, and black eventually won the game. So again, I really don't want to show you the whole game. This was, for instance, an example that your opponent cannot castle queenside because it's simply too slow. The attack by the knight is simply too much to handle here. Let's go back. For instance, after d takes c5, we see queenside castling. You see knight to c5, queen to c2. Now we can take here. If even the pawn takes, the structural weaknesses are again too much to handle. You have weakened the pawn structure in front of the king too much. Now there are many dark square problems here around the king. Still, knight to e4 can be played, queen to b6, including the queen into the attack, maybe even some a4 a3 ideas here. So again, black has a comfortable game. So as I said, the most important thing to recognize is that after move queen to b3, we're playing first the move a5. If we get challenged with the move a3, we have this beautiful a4 move. That's something that you must know. It's a trap if your opponent takes. If we get challenged here by the bishop on g5, after move a5, if we get challenged too much, then we can play c5, and then with knight to a6, knight to c5, we have this maneuver. But what we should do, as we said, is stay with the bishop longer on b4. If we get challenged, then it's time to take, because at least we have provoked some light square weaknesses, which we saw in the Ariantari game, that then could be exploited in the continuation of the game. So okay, I hope that you understand what is the idea about this lines from black's perspective, and I think you will apply it, and I think you have fun in Ragozin Defense. If you want to know more about the Ragozin Defense, check out our previous analysis with some more sidelines and with the most important tactical ideas of the opening. And if you want to see our whole Queen's Gambit Declined studies, here's the playlist of the whole Queen's Gambit Declined, where we have studied some other openings like the Harvard's attack, Qigor Defense, and many more. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chance is the best, of course.